and welcome to the Business of Metro Milwaukee. This monthly webinar we do has two goals. First is to better provide you with insights that help you make better business decisions. And the second is to inform you of the challenges and opportunities to growing the region's prosperity. Today's program is sponsored by United Healthcare. MMAC has partnered with United Healthcare to make it easier to find a health plan that works for your employees and your bottom line. United Healthcare's level funded plan offers coverage for companies with as few as 5 employees, allowing smaller and mid-sized companies to take advantage of things that are typically reserved for larger companies, like underwriting for more competitive pricing, better data so you know where your premium dollars are going, a potential surplus if claims are lower than expected, and access to critical illness, accident protection, and hospital indemnity plans to provide further financial security for your employees. In short, it's a great benefit plan to help you recruit and retain talent in this challenging environment. And I guess the best plug I can give for this program comes through the 565 companies who have signed up over the past 9 months to provide coverage for more than 19,000 employees and their dependents. An MMAC affiliated broker can help you receive discounted rates. Contact your MMAC broker or visit mmac.org to learn more. So we'll begin today's program with a discussion on the critical aspect of addressing the racial disparities we see in the Milwaukee region, increasing opportunities for diverse-owned businesses to become a part of supply chains. Joining us in the first half of the show are Marjorie Rucker, Executive Director of the Business Council, or TBC, and Ugo Nwagbaraocha, President of Diamond Discs International and Chair of TBC. And then at 11:30, we'll be joined again by Dr. John Raymond for a healthcare update and a discussion now on how he and the Medical College of Wisconsin staff approach the evolution of their policies throughout the pandemic. And as always, we'll take your questions, so enter them in the chat. So Ugo, Marjorie, welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Marjorie. Good morning, Chris.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So Marjorie, let's start off for people in the audience today who may not be aware of TBC. Tell us a little bit about the organization, its mission, and its work.
Absolutely. So the Business Council is a 501c3 organization that facilitates the growth of ethnic and diverse businesses in Wisconsin by fostering win-win procurement relationships. So we do this in 2 capacities. One is really building the capacity of the minority-owned businesses by providing readiness for the supplier diversity space. And then we also work with corporate partners to navigate the benefits of working with minority and diverse-owned businesses. So that's who we are and what we do.
So Marjorie, tell us a little bit about your journey as well. How did you get involved in this?
Yeah, so I graduated from law school in 2003, came back home, learned this fancy term called community and economic development, and I've been here for the last 18 years. So I started my career with the King Drive Business Improvement District, worked at LISC Milwaukee, Forreston, and then came over to the Business Council where I've been, rocking it ever since.
Absolutely. So Ugo, tell us a little bit first about the one hat you wear as president of Diamond Discs International, the journey you took to get to that position, and also how you got involved in TBC.
Definitely. Great questions. And again, thank you for having us here today. So yes, president owner of Diamond Discs International. Diamond Discs International, we're a national wholesaler of construction tooling and equipment. We specialize in infrastructure tools and materials. We've, now kind of looking at it, we've been a business. I've been a business owner now for 15 years, and out loud just kind of, just makes you look back at the entire journey of being 15 years as a business owner here in Milwaukee and Wisconsin. But no, I've been in the industry, in the construction tooling and equipment industry for decades now. Had the opportunity to purchase the company that I was the district sales manager for in 2007. And 2007, 2008, at that time, we were in the general contracting, the home building market. And I think everyone knows what happened in 2008 with the recession with the home building market. So it was a baptism by fire. We looked at literally hundreds of businesses going out of business on a weekly basis, us not just pivoting, but evolving into road construction, infrastructure construction, and supplying to those industries. And then now fast forward, being able to survive through the pandemic. So in dog years, I think I'm like at 40 years or 50 years as a business owner, but it's been an amazing journey. It's been an amazing journey here in the city of Milwaukee, state of Wisconsin, especially as a diverse-owned business owner. The lessons learned throughout the way, and also, it's made me even more passionate becoming chairman and leadership roles I have for diverse business ownership and diverse business ownership growth within our region.
So my next question is for both of you, and I'd like to get both of your perspectives on supplier diversity is a term we hear a lot. What does it mean?
Yeah, that's a great question, Chris. So let me tell you what it is and it is not. Supplier diversity is not a DEI strategy. It is not a diverse equity and inclusion strategy, but it may be a part of a company's overall strategy. So I just want to make that point, because when we say supplier diversity, we've been talking a lot about, inclusivity, right? And diversity and equity, but supplier diversity is a little bit different in that, it's a part of an overall strategy that deals in the area of procurement. However, it is not the only strategy, or it's not the umbrella of DEI. But the technical definition is this. So it's an intentional and strategic decision by a company to include or increase the number of underrepresented groups like minorities, women, service disabled veterans, and LGBTQ businesses into their procurement processes. Okay, so that's the technical definition of supplier diversity. The other thing that I think I should note with supplier diversity is these business relationships are usually longstanding. They are not one-off contracting opportunities.
Great. And then Ugo, perspective on that?
Yeah, definitely. I concur 100% with that Marjorie said, and I want to piggyback off of that. It's a tool. It's a tool, and I think one of the key words that we look at for supplier diversity, economic inclusion. When you look at underrepresented groups, underrepresented businesses from these underrepresented communities who've been excluded from these business revenue generating opportunities, resources, historically, we're talking about for centuries. How do we have tools? And again, it's just one tool. And I think that's one thing that I just want to kind of reiterate that Marjorie said earlier. It's one tool. It's an essential tool, but it's only one tool that we look at as far as how do we continue to build those opportunities, access for underrepresented communities to participate, have visibility of some of these opportunities, being able to build strategic networking with relationship opportunities with major corporations. But yeah, it's one tool, and definitely, as Marjorie said, promoting proactive business programs that for the purchasing, procurement of goods and services from businesses from underrepresented and underserved communities.
Yeah, Ugo, that's such a great point that it's one tool of many that we'd see out there, but specifically in terms of supplier diversity programs, and I love each of your perspectives on this one too. How do supplier diversity programs help build a more vibrant community of diverse-owned businesses here in Milwaukee?
Yeah, that's great. So I'm going to say this: supplier diversity is necessary to build vibrant, diverse business communities and our communities here in Milwaukee and southeastern Wisconsin. So I always say it like this: if you don't see businesses, strong businesses in communities that look like you and are participating in the economic wealth creation of said community, your communities are failing. So supplier diversity is really, really important, especially for southeastern Wisconsin, because when you have strong, vibrant businesses of color or of underrepresented groups, it creates that quality of life, if you will, that we're looking for. I'll also make this case in point. Corporations, I should say, that participate in supplier diversity and do it well usually see a higher return on their investment from those business relationships. So there's a study out there by the Hackett Group that a lot of people reference, but for every $1 million that was spent with diverse firms, that company received in their profit share 3 times back of that, right? So I put out $1 million, I'm doing business with these diverse businesses, not as a set aside or whatnot, but really just because this business can offer me what we need. The prices are competitive, they're high quality, they just happen to be from an underrepresented group, right? So I get to count that, but as a result of that, I'm also making more money. So that is, you know, the great thing about supplier diversity, and kind of helps to get people's wheels turning when they think about it, or participating in it, because that's important as well.
Yeah, and then Ugo, your perspective on how it helps build a more vibrant community of diverse-owned businesses in Milwaukee.
Marjorie, spot on. You know, and the exact number that I have, and again, Marjorie's always 5 steps ahead of me. On average, supplier diversity programs add 3.6 million to the bottom line for every million in procurement operation costs. You know, so again, it's that huge myth, that huge, you know, misnomer as far as you know, what's diversity. It's actually good for business, you know, and that's one thing that really resonated, especially as chairman of the business council, when we're able to have those conversations with, you know, being very fortunate to also be a part of the Mmac board, talking with our board members, is that it's good for business. You know, so a recent report shows that minority-owned businesses contribute 400 billion to the nation's economy, and over 2.2 million jobs. So again, you know, as Marjorie mentioned, it's an investment. It's not, you know, we think about, you know, charitable and philanthropic, and a lot of times, unfortunately, these, which are both great causes, but a lot of times they get convoluted and mixed together, and they're different. This is a business, you know, there's a business reason why supplier diversity is good. And as Marjorie mentioned, it's major corporations, and some of the most successful corporations in the nation, if not the world, it's not a coincidence that the majority of them have mature supplier diversity programs, because what they realize is that the communities that they serve, that it's important for these communities to thrive and to do well. And these supplier diversity programs, you know, often are able to, you know, generate this type of business within these communities. And as these communities do well, they're able to do more business and provide more services and or products in these communities also. And we're in the NBA playoff season, so I got to quote the great Magic Johnson, who's become a great business owner also, and said, you know, that there is you can be successful and profitable in diverse communities, and also do things that are good for the community at the same time. So it's doing what's right, doing the right thing, and it's also profitable and good for business. And I think that's something, as Marjorie mentioned, is very important for us to reiterate.
Yeah, we can talk about the NBA playoffs, but we're not going to talk about the refereeing last night.
Yeah, no, we won't talk about that. But also, I also want to circle back to something that Marjorie also mentioned, I think, which is really important for supplier diversity. Marjorie mentioned the visibility. So when you're seeing successful businesses in your underrepresented, underserved, diverse business community, you're seeing that success. But it's also about having visibility on the corporation side, because whether it's corporations or whether it's the state of Wisconsin or city of Milwaukee or the county, you know, when you have major organizations, and we're experiencing this on the state side of the Department of Transportation, where a lot of times we're prime or prime contractors or prime road builders will say, hey, we don't see them. We don't have visibility. We don't, you know, there's and major corporations, again, you know, going back specifically to our conversation, major corporations, hey, you know, we're not able to find any diverse businesses. So that's where it just really becomes imperative. The amazing work of Marjorie Rucker as the executive director of the Business Council. I'd be remiss not to mention also as chairwoman of the Ethnic Diverse Business Coalition, and the many great chambers that are out there, you know, and that, you know, but they do an amazing job, especially when we're speaking of the Business Council and Mmac, to give visibility to our major corporate partners of the amazing diverse businesses that are there. And then these corporations giving visibility of opportunities, right? You know, what do we see forecasting coming down in the next quarter, Q1, Q2. And again, when you mentioned earlier about being a business owner for 15 years here in Milwaukee, some of the most successful supplier diversity programs, the first thing was the educational piece. When you sit there at a Advocate Aurora Health, health summit or symposium or WEC Energy Group symposium, and they're able to talk about upcoming forecasted opportunities to do business, to engage. So you see the visibility of opportunities. Secondly, when you see how to engage these corporations and do business with them, that's so meaningful for diverse businesses that normally do not have visibility or access to this information. And then last but not least, obviously encouraging not just first tier, but second tier, third tier, diverse, their contractors, the people, not just that organization, but the people that do business with that organization, how they can interact with the diverse business community. And that's where the Chambers of Business Council does an amazing job with their supplier diversity module, engaging, having that education, that information exchange, the strategic networking opportunities. And last but not least, as Marjorie mentioned, it starts with just that visibility. Buddy, both in the room, again, the diverse business community and the corporations having the visibility of each other.
I think it's really enlightening that each of you brought up the business case for this, that you can establish a diverse supply chain and profit because of it. Because we know that through all the work we've done on Region Choice, there's so much solid research about how diverse teams within companies make better decisions and make more money because of those decisions. And do you think we're seeing something similar play out with companies that use diverse suppliers?
Absolutely. Yes, that is the case, right? So normally when you use a contractor or a vendor or a device or a supplier, you're doing it because it makes good business sense, right? So you're putting out competitive bids, you're looking for the best price with the highest quality of return, right? Small businesses can offer that, right? Diverse businesses help, again, the overall effect, right? It helps the community that they're in as well as the corporation's bottom line. So when you look at it, it is absolutely the same thing. It's just that you're contracting with a vendor outside versus doing the, thinking inside and having your team come up with that solution. We always tell diverse businesses when we're doing our module, what value are you adding to that corporation, right? What problem are you solving for them? They're obviously looking for someone to solve it because they can't get it internally. So then it's your job to go in there and show that value add. Of course, any business can do that. But again, with diverse businesses, it's helpful, threefold, because not only is it helping to build the capacity of that business and make them stronger, it's also helping to build your capacity and to make you stronger and to operate and do the things that you need to do. And it's just a win-win for everybody. Yeah.
Definitely agree 100%. Yeah, definitely agree 100%. And I'll just add, again, piggyback off what Marjorie said. One thing that I learned as a business owner in the past 15 years, and I can speak specifically for Diamond Disc International, is that we'll have diverse businesses, and Marjorie knows, where they may do one or two things. Again, they don't have the mile wide, but they may only be 2 feet wide, but they go way deeper. They go, they go 500 feet or they go half a mile deep. And so you have diverse business owners that may do one or two things. They may have specified niche markets that they do extremely well. And I'll even go a step further, confidently from experience, to say they punch way above their weight class in what they do, because they don't do everything, but they do one or two things extremely well. So I'll fast forward that whether you're looking at a corporation or you're looking at a state project, a state bid, I mentioned that obviously construction, but they won't do a bunch of things. But when you're able to break out one or two things and then give them access to the visibility of that opportunity or that product or that service, and they can, you have that relationship building opportunity. What the corporations realize, like, wow, we've got, 20% savings on this specified area, and now this organization, again, this diverse business or small business in general, can't invest in everything, but they can invest in doing this one thing extremely well. And as they do that well, guess what? Now that the relationship is there, and now you start expanding and start saying, hey, what else can we do? And I'm speaking this not just hypothetically. It's not just this is real life. This is what Diamond Disc International did. We started out with diamond edge cutting tools, having one of the largest inventories in the region, and because of the relationship opportunities that we were able to build with some of the largest utility contractors, not just locally but nationally, and we're able to establish the trust, able to establish, as Marjorie said, diverse business owners, small business in general, but diverse business owners, as Marjorie said, know your value. And I'll go a step further, know your value to the industry. If you're in the healthcare industry, know the value of your company or product to that healthcare industry. If you're in the construction industry, infrastructure, know your value. And then, because you don't ever want your certification or your diverse business classification to be your go-to move, but it's going to give you an opportunity for you to show your value proposition. And when when you know your value proposition of the industry, it becomes a much easier conversation for you to understand this corporation and where this corporation is going, to say, you know what, now I can provide this value for this corporation, and now I have this access. So you get doing one thing well, leads to two things well, and then as it grows, now we're doing. We as Diamond International, as many know, we 2017, 2018, we bought a larger facility, went from a 5,000 square foot warehouse to a 15,000 square foot warehouse. And the reason why I mentioned that is because that growth and expansion wouldn't have happened if we didn't have the opportunity. Now, predicate the opportunity was before that we knew our value proposition to the industry. But again, both of those things need to be there as a business owner. You need to know your value to the industry, and then it's imperative that we get that access and the opportunities and organizations like the Business Council and our major corporations that provide these access to opportunities to provide these strategic networking, relationship building opportunities.
Marjorie, we had a good question from an audience member, curious about what sorts of products that TBC affiliated businesses sell. And I guess I'd add services in there. And it's probably way more than people might think.
Yeah, absolutely. Our membership, we have over 110 business members currently, and we span 36 different industries. So, it's one of those, give me a call, and let's see if there is something that can work for you. But yes, we do currently serve 36 different industries right now.
So in your role, you can connect businesses that have a need or want to reach out
Absolutely.
with all sorts of different things across different sectors. That's great.
Yes.
I was curious because I mentioned MMAC's Region of Choice program. For people in the audience who don't know, it's a program, an initiative we launched in 2019, and our initial focus was on increasing opportunity for individual employees within companies for both being hired and advancing people from diverse backgrounds. But as we went through and did the work, we found out that that's not enough. We need to address, one, education, and two, supplier diversity. So I guess I'd ask each of you, how does the work you're doing, and Ugo, I know you and Marjorie both have worked closely with our Region of Choice initiative, how does it intersect with our Region of Choice program?
Yeah, I'm going to defer to Ugo and let him do it. He's the troublemaker, good troublemaker, right? That helped to steer that at the MMAC level. So definitely go ahead.
Well, it's not easy, right? It's a tough process to try to figure out.
It's a tough process, and thank you, Marjorie, for that. But again, this is not just not just myself. There are many great people, including Marjorie, who made this possible. So again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm also fortunate to be a board member, honored and humbled to be a board member of the MMAC. During this pandemic, we had some very tough conversations. Obviously, as this pandemic impacted everybody, the entire country, if not definitely the entire world, and the business community was impacted, detrimentally impacted. That I think we all agree that the diverse business community, as well as how the business and small business community was impacted, the diverse business community was even more detrimentally impacted. But there's several concerns came to the forefront, and to me, the conversation that I've always had, I've been very consistent over the years. I've been a champion for the diverse business community for decades, and so my voice got louder, and the conversations became a lot more distinct, and what I love about it was the fact that the MMAC and the board members there, some obviously great people that I have tremendous amount of respect for. They leaned in. Could have used other organizations. There's some tables that don't want me at the table anymore because I got louder. But what I love about the people that I respect, we had some difficult conversations, but we both leaned in, and we were very respectful. And again, talking about business case for it, and it was real simple. It was the importance of a thriving, diverse business community. I on one hand think it's very important, and I would have the conversations to talk about why it's important, and having these conversations with, again, several, a lot of people that I have tons of respect for across the board. We're able to have respectful conversations and move it forward and start understanding why a thriving, diverse business community, not only why it's important, but also how and why the MMAC needs to play a visible, an active role with quantifiable metrics of how they can lean into to move this forward. And so going back specifically to your question, the region of choice, it falls directly into the region of choice. When you talk about, attaining top corporation, when you talk about having the city of Milwaukee being globally competitive as a place to live, work, play, you can't have us being last on the list, a place to raise an African-American family, to raise a business, the list goes on. When you have a thriving, diverse, thriving, ethnic diverse business community, the importance of that from a business standpoint is, as we talked about earlier, thriving corporations have mature supplier diversity programs because their communities are doing well. Last but not least, one of the big things, as you mentioned earlier, for the region of choice is retention of top talent, whether it's diverse or not. And one of those things that are important is again, when you have ethnic diverse corporations that are thriving and doing well, guess what? That also attracts not just those corporations, not just those companies, but also the corporations that are doing business with those ethnicities, those ethnic groups, where they say, you know what, we need to have more people that we can have so that we can, that we can do well with this group. But last but not least, to me, most importantly, a thriving, diverse business community invests in its own community. So you talk about education, you talk about healthcare, you talk about, and again, when you're looking around, looking at my alma mater, First Wisconsin, Milwaukee, we've had some great names that are there, including the Lubars, who've done some amazing things. But the list goes on as far as when you have people who are doing well in your community, they invest well. Same thing with ethnic diverse business. So to me, the overall, for when you talk about all the things that are important for the region of choice being globally competitive, this becomes very important. You can't have a two-legged stool. You have to have so again, this is one of the imperative components that you have to have if you want to have a successful region of choice. And again, this was something that the conversation that we had and we're able to move forward with, whereas the quote that I have that it's unapologetically tied to me, it's not just important about who you hire, it's about who you do business with. And everybody leaned in and fortunately they agreed. But again, we can't do it without great folks like Marjorie Rucker of the Business Council that are providing an avenue, an opportunity, the technical development, the business development for our firms, and also preparing them, being able to have that connection with the major corporations. Marjorie said, reach out to her. If you're Ascension or Advocate Aurora Health or, Northwestern Mutual, and you're looking at, reach out, and again, Marjorie, like I said, has a group, a listing of all of our membership and the industries that we have, the strengths, and people will be surprised how many industries that we have. And we have the same thing as president of the National Association of Contractors, where we have major construction firms that have no idea as far as some of the demonstrated strengths that we have within our existing diverse business relationship. Zach Comes did an amazing report. I think it's very educational and informative, and I encourage all of our TBC and MMAC members and our major corporate partners to read it. Again, I was even enlightened when Zach Comes came back and identified 1,200 Black and brown businesses within the Metro Milwaukee area. But I think, there are a lot of things that were identified in that report that, again, show the strengths and the opportunities. And again, the reason why this is so important for the region of choice. I mean, these two things go to be hand in hand.
Absolutely. It's great perspective. About a minute left before we transition to Dr. Raymond, but Marjorie, before we go, I wanted to give you a chance to talk about a grant that TBC recently received.
Yeah, so let me take my minute to do this, and then whatever time I have left, I'll talk about the grant. So if you are a business or one of our corporate partners that has a supplier diversity program but wants to make it better, right, or you want to enhance it, please, please, please call the Business Council. Our number is 414-287-4172, or you can email me at mrucker, it's RUCKER, @MMAC.org. Again, it's mrucker, so RUCKER @MMAC.org. We also have a roundtable that we're going to be launching. This roundtable is for companies that don't have a formal program, but you really want to be a little bit more intentional around, right, bringing in bringing in more diverse suppliers, however that looks to you. So we will be launching that roundtable as well. We're actually in the process of getting our members involved in that now. So that's a more immediate call, but please give us a call as well, 414-287-4172, or email me, because, our job at the Business Council is to make sure that businesses understand and know what they're getting into, as far as embarking on this space, because it's not as easy sometimes as just saying we're going to do it. There is some intentionality that needs to be held, but it's not hard, nor does it have to be different. It just has to be intentional and strategic to make sure it's a win-win for the company as well as the vendor that's going to be working with you. So I don't know if I don't think I have any time left. Maybe I got like 10 seconds before.
Give me 10 seconds on your grant.
Yeah, for the grant. So yes, I was the lead troublemaker, but I had 20 other partners too that helped to advocate for an earmark, if you will, from the state of Wisconsin and their American Rescue Plan Act funds to help ethnic and diverse businesses throughout the state. So we were successful in securing $86 million to go to different ethnic and diverse chambers, as well as community development financial institutions across the state, for us to really do that work that we need to do to make sure that our ethnic and diverse businesses are competitive, they are strong, and that they can do business without a lot of hiccups. So that's all I got for the grant.
That's great. Marjorie, Ugo, thank you so much, first of all, for your leadership in this space. It's so important to the future of our region. And second of all, thank you so much for taking the time to share your perspectives with us today.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you for
having me,
having us.
Milwaukee. Have a great
Absolutely.
rest
Thank
of
you
the
so much.
day.